Hello everyone, so my name is Cianni and I am going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 favorite eyeshadow palettes. So although I do love neutral looks, I mainly do very colorful looks. So my top favorite palette of all time is this one. It is the Bperfect times Stacey Marie Carnival XL Pro palette. So this is what the outside looks like. Just like a standard matte black. And the letters are like in rainbow and it's a little bit holographic. And this is what the back looks like. So this is the whole palette layout and it does include all of the shade names, even though they're also written inside. And there's the ingredients. So this palette is large, but they do sell a smaller version of it. But honestly, I've traveled with this palette and it's really not that bad. Like the size is not a problem for me. So when you open it, this is what the palette looks like. So all of these are eyeshadows and then these 3 are highlighters. So it does have a full-size mirror. I don't want to put the mirror up too high so you guys are going to get blinded from the ring light. But it does have a mirror, which is very helpful, especially for if you're going somewhere and you're taking this palette with you. So for the color story of this palette, as you can see, it is a rainbow palette. There is pretty much any color you can think of, it's in here. I really love this palette though, because when I am in a creative block and I can't really figure out what kind of look I want to do, I always reach for this palette because there's just so many different looks that you can do with this. And it really puts my mind in like a creative mindset and I can just create any look with this palette. So it always gives me awesome ideas just by looking at the colors. So I really do love this palette. So there are 40 shades in this palette and there are 3 highlighter shades. So this is the biggest palette that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. So all the other palettes they might be the same size, but they don't have as many shades as this one does. But I just really love this palette. Like, it's really pretty. And now I'm going to go ahead and swatch some of my favorite shades. I am going to be inserting the whole entire palette swatched, but for now I'm going to live swatch my favorite shades. So my favorite shade in here is called Wasted and is this purple shade right here. I just really love doing purple makeup, but if you are someone who wears makeup or you're in the beauty community, then you would know that purple is actually a really hard color to like formulate. So I really love this purple because purples most of the time are quite like splotchy and they just don't perform that well on the eyes, and they're kind of like a color that you have to like build up. But I really love this purple. It's really pigmented, like just it's really pigmented. And so I'm gonna go ahead and swatch it on my arm here. Just look at that. I really love this purple and it swatches well, and it also is really good on the eyes and it just blends like a dream. So my second favorite shade in this palette is actually this green one right here. This one, and it's called The Hype, and I've been getting really into like a green eyeshadow lately. I just like the way it looks on me. But this green is like so amazing. It's really pigmented and it just blends really nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch it right next to the purple. Just look at how bright and pigmented that is. It's so pretty. I love it. So this is Wasted and this is The Hype. So now I'm gonna tell you guys my favorite shimmer shade in here, which is called Inspire. It's this one right here. And the reason why I really like this shade is because even though it's like kind of a basic like brown like gold, I just really don't have a shimmer that looks like this. Like it really has like a really unique undertone to it, if that makes sense. And I feel like it looks really good. So that's what that looks like. I really, really love this shade on my eyes. Even as an inner corner highlight, it's so pretty. So moving on to the highlighters, these are the highlighters. So I really like how the highlighters are included in this palette because like I said, this is, although it is a giant palette, it is really good if you're going on the go and you're doing people's makeup because each and every single one of these shades is for different skin tones. So obviously this would be for more fair people, this is in the middle, and this would be for more darker skin tones. So personally, because of my skin tone, I'm more in the middle. So my favorite shade is this one in the middle. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch it for you guys. And this is called Gold Luxe. Look at how pretty that is. So pretty. So it is a little bit lighter than this shade right here, but it is just so pretty. So that is all the swatches that I am going to do for this eyeshadow palette. This is once again the Bperfect X Stacey Marie XL Pro Carnival palette. So I really love this palette, and as you can see from the swatches, it is a really good palette. Those are just my favorite shades, but if you guys really get this palette, I am sure that you are going to love it as much as I do. So for my second favorite eyeshadow palette, I almost had this palette for a year. It'll be a year in December, and it is a lot smaller than the one that I just showed you, but there is a bigger version of it. But I absolutely love this palette, and this is the Morphe X James Charles mini palette. So he does have a bigger version of this. It's the same exact layout. The only difference is that this palette has a mirror and the larger one does not, which I prefer for palettes that have a mirror just because I am used to going back and forth between a lot of different houses. So I love how this palette has a mirror. So, and it's the same, from what I heard, the same quality within like the shadows. So it does come with the shade names on a little piece of plastic, but I only keep this piece of plastic because the shade names aren't written on here. So whenever I do a look using this palette, I need to know the shade names. But this is the layout. So as you can see, this is another rainbow palette because I mainly do colorful looks. But I do also love how there are neutral shades in here. So you can kind of choose depending on the day whether you want to do a neutral look or whether you want to do something more colorful. So this palette I have done so many different looks with because you just can with this many shades. And as for my favorite shades, it's really honestly hard to pick because there are a lot of favorites in here, but I am gonna go ahead and swatch my favorite shades. So as for my number one shade in this palette, I would have to say this yellow one right here, which is called B, just because whenever I'm doing a look and I know I'm gonna use a yellow, this is like the only bright yellow that I have. A lot of the other yellows are like too dark. So I do find myself reaching into this palette for this yellow. So that is what the yellow looks like. It is a very pigmented, and it is also pigmented on the eyes. And I just really love the formula of these eyeshadows because they are like really soft to the touch, but they blend like butter. Like they blend so beautiful on the eyes. So my next favorite shade in this palette would have to be this shimmer purple right here, which is called Artistry. And I just really think that this purple is super unique because although it's purple, it does have kind of like a pink and blue like shift to it. So I really like that about this color. It doesn't swatch the best, but I do spray this shade with like setting spray, and it really is so pretty on the eyes. I've done multiple looks with this on my Instagram, and I just really love it. This swatch does not do this shade justice. Like, I spray it with setting spray and on my brush, and when I apply it on my eyes, it's like a beautiful metallic color. And it is just so pretty. Like, it looks so pretty on my finger, but it doesn't want to swatch the best. But I promise on the eyes, it is so pretty. Maybe if I come a little closer. But regardless, it is still one of my favorite shades. So my third favorite shade has to be the black. Now, I really don't even use black that much, but when I know I need a black shadow, I always reach into this palette because this black is just so pigmented. So this shade is called Spooky, and it is just so good. I just love this black shade. On the eyes, it's just great. Like, I normally only use black when I do like a black smoky eye, but sometimes I have used it as like a light smoky liner. I usually use brown for that, but sometimes when I use black, I always use the black from this palette. So my last favorite shade from this palette is another one from the middle row, and it is this one right next to the white, which is called Face. Now, the reason why it is called Face is because you can actually use this color as a highlight, which I do find myself doing. It is also a really, really good shade for your inner corner. It is a really light color, so I don't know if you guys can see that. But hopefully the shimmer is picking up. It is really, really pretty. And I really like this shade. It is so pretty as a highlight. So those are the swatches from this palette, and I do love how affordable this palette is, although there is a bigger version that is a little bit more pricier. I believe this palette is around $23 and the bigger one is like $39 or $36. So this palette is the more cheaper route if you really do want to get the James Charles palette. Plus, this one does come with a mirror, so it is better for travel purposes. But I really do love this palette, and I definitely use it quite often. So my third all-time favorite palette is another Morphe palette. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, most of these palettes are Morphe palettes, but I really do love Morphe as a brand. And I really, really love this palette. This is another large palette. So this is the Morphe 39S Such a Gem palette. I did get this palette around the same time that I got the James Charles palette, but I love this palette just as much. So this pretty much whole entire palette is like pinks and purples, which I kind of do wear a lot. And there also is like a couple neutral-ish shades in here. But yeah, I really love this palette. So this is the same exact layout that the larger version of the James Charles would look like, obviously just with those colors. But this is one of my favorite palettes. So I do have the piece of plastic in here because once again it has the shade names on it. But this is what it looks like. So as you can see, most of the colors are pinks and purples, and there are a few neutrals in here, We have some silvers and some golds. I just really love this palette. As you can see, it's very well loved. It's clearly a mess. But I really love this palette. So it was really hard to pick my 4 favorite shades from this palette, but I am super excited to share with you guys what they are. I love every single shade in this palette, so but anyways, I'm just gonna get into the swatches. So my number 1 favorite shade in this palette is this silver color right here. Now as you can see, it like literally like moves like with my finger. Like it is so creamy and wet, and that is how all of the middle shades feel like. It is just so buttery and so extremely pigmented. So this shade is called Take the Crown, and the reason why I love this shade a lot is because I really only have one other silver eyeshadow in my collection, which is from the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. There's a shade in there called Cyborg that is silver, but honestly that's the only other silver shade that I own in my collection. So this shade is literally everything. Like look at that, and it's so creamy. Like it literally feels like a moisturizer. It's so pigmented. Look at that. I love the silver shade, like literally. I use it as an inner corner. I use it like a halo eye type thing in the middle. I use it when I do cut creases. Like I really love this silver shade. Okay, so my next favorite shade in this palette is this one right here, and it is called Super Swanky. It is a neutral brown shade. So I love this shade for my transition shade. Like it's always the first color that I apply if I'm doing a neutral look with this palette. If I'm doing like a purple or pink look, I usually go in with purple first. But I absolutely love this shade, and I just think it's the perfect transition shade for my skin tone, and I think that's why I really like it. So that's that is Super Swanky. So my third favorite color in this palette is the one all the way up here, and it is called Makin' Bank. Now the reason why I love this shade so much is because it does, although it does look similar to the silver shade, it is more of like a taupey kind of shimmer shade, which I think is really unique, and it has different color shifts in it. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick that up, but that is what it looks like. It's super pretty in the light especially, and I do like this as a inner corner highlight as well. So my last favorite shade is this one right here, and this one is called Wine Not, W-I-N-E, not with a question mark. And this is just like the perfect burgundy color. Like it is so perfect. This is not the color that I'm wearing on my eyes, but I really do love this shade. It is so pretty. Actually does go quite well with Makin' Bank. So this was my third favorite eyeshadow palette. Once again, this is the Morphe 39S, such a gem palette. This is what it looks like. And those were my favorite shades, and now we're gonna move on to the fourth eyeshadow palette. So for my fourth palette, it is smaller than the previous one that I just showed you guys. So this one is another Beauty Bay collab, and this is with NikkieTutorials. I really love this palette, and I also really love the story behind it. If you guys haven't seen NikkieTutorials video up on her YouTube channel, you should definitely go check it out. The story behind this palette is just so beautiful, and I really love all the shades in here, and it is just such a beautiful palette. Just look at this. And I love how the mirrors are like split in half. That is just so creative. I just really love all of the colors in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch you guys my favorite colors in here. So my first favorite shade is this one right here called All In, because it really is like that color. Like it's all that. Like I don't know how to explain this color, but it basically looks like a whole bunch of different like shimmers combined into one. Like I really like, just look at that. That swatch. The shade is so gorgeous. I love it as an inner corner highlight, a brow bone highlight. Like, oh, it is just so pretty. I love this shade. The pigment, the way it blends on the eyes, it is just everything for a shimmer shade. Okay, so my second favorite shade in here is this green minty blue color. Although it is called Ew, I really think this color is really pretty. And like I said, I've been getting more into green shades. So this color is just everything for me. This swatch is not doing it justice, but I really, really love this shade. So that is what that one looks like. It is called Ew. I love this shade. So as for the formula in this palette, although I do love the matte in here, I really, really love the formula of the shimmer shades in here. So my last two favorite shades are shimmer shades, and the first one is this blue one right here called NikkieTutorials. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch that for you guys. So that is what that looks like. Just look at this color. It is so pretty. I am obsessed. Look at that. And the last shade in here, it is the prettiest shade in this palette, and it is called Pride. I love this shade because it has so many different shifts when it hits the light. It's just so pretty. Just look at that. That is just so pretty. I love all of these shades. These actually do go really well together for a look. So those are my swatches for my favorite shades in the Beauty Bay X NikkieTutorials palette. So this is what the palette looks like. Once again, it does have a mirror on both sides. And this is what the packaging looks like. I am obsessed with the packaging. It is so creative. I love it. That's what the back looks like, and there is a message. And if you guys buy the palette, then you guys could read the message. But that is what it looks like. I love this palette. And now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the last palette, which is actually what I am wearing on my eyes right now. The last palette that I'm gonna be sharing with you guys as my favorite is actually one of my newer palettes that I recently just got. I do have one palette coming in the mail that is going to be featured in a future video, but I absolutely love this palette, and it is from Morphe, and this is the Morphe 35XO Natural Flirt palette. So this is what the packaging looks like. It is so pretty. And if you didn't know, Stacey, which she is the winner of James Charles's YouTube series show, and that is called Instant Influencer. She was actually the winner of that show, so she was the face of this Morphe holiday collection. So this is what the packaging looks like. It is so pretty. It does kind of give me a little bit of Valentine's Day vibes, but at the same time holiday vibes, because around the fall-ish winter time I do love wearing shades like this, like cranberry pink shades. So this is what the inside looks like, and I just love it. So as I said before, I did recently get this palette, so I haven't played with it too much, but from the shades that I have used in this palette, I really do love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys the shades that are on my eyes right now. So the first shade that I went into is right here, and it's called Love Story. That's what this one looks like on my eyes. And to blend out that color, I use the shade called Message Red, which is this one right here. And then the last shade that I used, the last shade that I used is the one in the middle, which is the only pressed glitter in here, which is called Crushin' Hard. Just this one right here. And for my inner corners, that is my highlight that I'm wearing, which is Sandcastle from Fenty Beauty, which is my favorite highlighter. So as for this palette, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys my favorite shades, and I'm going to swatch them for you. So let's get started. My all-time favorite shade in this palette has to be the one that is on the center of my eyelids, and that is the shade Crushin' Hard, which is the only pressed glitter in this palette. So for pressed glitters, they are known to be kind of difficult to work with just because they are better applied with your finger and they really don't work well with brushes. So sometimes for the swatches, like, it can show up kind of splotchy. This one actually swatches really good. But when I apply it on the eyes, I kind of apply it like this, like tapping motion, because the glitters can be kind of known to either stick together or stay too far apart, so you kind of have to force them to be together. But actually this one swatches very good for a pressed glitter. So my second favorite shade in here is Talk Feelings. I have used this shade in a look that you guys have not seen yet, but it is coming soon on my Instagram. So this is like a mauve, like pinkish purple. I don't really know how to describe this, but I really love this shade. It is so pretty. So my third favorite shade in here is this one right here, and it's called Your Move. It's a shimmer shade, and this shade right here is so pretty. It looks good in your inner corners, on your eyelid. Like, it is just so pretty. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. Just look at how blinding that is. Like, look at that. So pretty. My last favorite shade in here is kind of a basic shade, but the reason why I really do love this shade is because you can pretty much use it to blend out any one of these colors in here. So that's why I really like it, and it is this shade called Come Here Often. Just a really pale neutral shade, but I love this color. And although it is pale, it is still showing up pretty good for swatching. Once again, this is the Morphe 35XO Natural Flirt palette. So this palette comes with 35 different shades, and it is just so pretty, and I really love it, and it is what I'm wearing on my eyes. And I just absolutely love this palette so far. I still have many more looks that I really want to create with this palette, but this is the fifth palette that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Although I do have lots of favorites, these are my top 5 favorites that I have been reaching for the most. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and please let me know any other videos that you guys would like me to do down below in the comments. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like this video, and yeah, have a nice day. Bye.